All right, so today I'm going to be talking to you about Salesforce market saturation, and we're going to sort of be looking at some indicators of whether or not the Salesforce market is saturated. So, to kick off this conversation, I think it's best that we level set on what saturation means, and then we'll sort of work away from that and sort of figure out what's going on in the Salesforce market. So, right now, in recording this video, it is August 2021. And when we talk about market saturation, what that means is that all jobs have been filled. All right. So, what that means is someone is going to need to retire or quit their job in order for another job to be available for a new person to come in and fill a position. So, that is really sort of the textbook definition of saturation. It means quite literally all of the jobs have been placed. There are people in those jobs, and in order for a new person to get a Salesforce job, someone would have to retire or quit in order for that job to become available. Now, I think we all know that's not the Salesforce job market, right? So we can go ahead and say, textbook definition, saturated. No, definitely not. We are, far, far, far from that. Now, I think the next thing that, typically when somebody says the market is saturated, what they probably mean is it's difficult to land a job in the Salesforce market. Okay, so that's probably what they mean. Now, for anyone with any experience in the Salesforce ecosystem, you know this isn't true. You're probably getting 3 to 5 recruiters reaching out every single week, even though you're not looking for a job. So even when you're not looking for a job, you probably have 3 to 5 recruiters reaching out trying to get you into another role. So for anyone with Salesforce experience, and you can comment down below and sort of say, no, that doesn't happen to me, or yes, that does happen to me. And just let me know, because everyone that I talk to, and I do work with thousands of people actually on a weekly basis, through members programs and through the ecosystem and things like that. And that is most certainly the truth, that recruiters are reaching out constantly, almost to a point where people want to turn off their LinkedIn profiles so that recruiters stop reaching out. So now let's move a step forward, because now we've established, at least in my mind, we've established that it's definitely not saturated by a textbook definition, the Salesforce market. It is definitely not saturated for people with any level of experience. So the next step I think we take is the Salesforce market saturated for entry-level professionals? So these are individuals with, let's say, 0 Salesforce experience, maybe a volunteer project, a personal project, something along those lines. Is the Salesforce market saturated for those individuals? And I think this is probably when you see people comment on a post, or you even just hear when you're talking to someone that, yeah, I think the market's kind of saturated. They're probably saying the market is saturated for entry-level professionals with no experience. Now, this is also not true, and it's also far from the truth. It's not even close, once again. And you might say, well, how do you know that? Well, if you don't know who I am, or what I do, I should say, I work with entry-level Salesforce professionals to help them find jobs. And what we find is that it takes less than 6 months, usually around 4 months, for entry-level Salesforce professionals to go from not knowing what Salesforce is to landing a job in the Salesforce ecosystem. We also find that most of these individuals within, say, 6 months, 9 months, get multiple job offers. And what I mean by that is they might land their first job after 4 months, and then within a couple of months, they're getting more job offers. Okay, so something they applied for in the past, something they interviewed for in the past, and now they're getting more job offers. One of the biggest issues we see with our members is that they don't know how to sort of walk the line of accepting 2 offers. So they've got 2 offers on the table, and now they have to figure out which one to accept, or should they negotiate, or if they've already accepted an offer, but then a better offer comes in tomorrow, how do they handle that? Or if they know they're getting an offer on Friday, but then they get another one on Monday, how do they keep from saying yes or no to the first offer while they wait on the second one? So when you're seeing issues like that with people trying to land entry-level jobs, that also means that by far the market is not saturated. So, I just had an individual, no college degree, stay-at-home mom for the last 5 years, got 3 job offers in less than 4 months in the program. When people are still getting multiple job offers, that means that not only is it not saturated, but by an exponential effect, it is not saturated to the point where a single individual, yes, you have to put in some work, and yes, you have to understand Salesforce and learn and go through a process of understanding how to interview and things like that. But just because you have to put in a little bit of work doesn't mean a market is saturated. That just means they're not handing out job offers. And there's a huge difference between that. So let's talk about why that topic might even be coming up. Like, why is that even being talked about if it's so far from the truth? And here's the best explanation I have for that. Number one, people form opinions based on their experience. Unfortunately, they don't formulate opinions often based on facts. And even when they think it's based on a fact, it's not based on much evidence. It's based on their own personal experience. So a lot of people formulate what they call facts based on their own individual isolated experience instead of a large sample size. And I don't want to go too deep into, what I would consider a reasonable opinion or a reasonable fact. But the bottom line is, I think individuals come into this and they go, hey, I got my certification. I'm going to go apply for jobs. And then they can't find any job postings, or they don't get any interviews, or when they interview, they don't get offers. And then a second sort of psychological piece comes into play, and they go, it's really hard for a person to accept that they might be the problem, or they might need some additional guidance or help in order to be successful. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow. So individuals instead decide that the market is saturated. This makes you feel good, right? You go, okay, it's not my fault. It's unfortunate, but it's not my fault because the market's saturated. So I'm just going to move along because I know this isn't for me because no one can do this. But that's not true. But then they go share that. And guess who latches on to that opinion? Other people who have had the same experience, other individuals who say, oh, I tried to get an interview and I couldn't find any, or, I interviewed a few times and I never got any offers. So this person's saying the market's saturated, so now I agree with them. And then you get a group of people saying the market's saturated. And I think that's where that comes from. And the truth is, they very likely either are certified, or maybe they're not even certified, but for some reason they think they deserve a job offer. And if they're certified, they likely have done no strategy around applying for jobs, reaching out to people, networking, and making these connections. And even if they've done that, chances are they've put little to no preparation into interviewing because they don't know how to prepare for these interviews. And even if they've done all that, chances are they have no hands-on experience because it was too much trouble to find volunteer projects because they checked the site a couple of times on Volunteer Match, but there was nothing there, so they just gave up and said it's impossible instead of checking every day for 30 days. They just gave up because they checked a couple of weeks in a row and there was nothing there. And then instead of doing personal projects in their own org, it was too difficult to try to figure out what kind of personal projects should I do? I don't want to do another exercise tracking app, or I don't want to do grocery shopping or budgeting or job searching or whatever it is. Like, I don't feel motivated to do that, so I'm just not going to do it. And then I'm still going to claim the market's saturated, even though I didn't put in the work to get the job. And so I think a lot of these things go into why people don't have success and they think they should. I think it's mostly that people get a certification and they think they should get a job just because they have a certification. And then they determine that the market is saturated. But let me assure you it's not. And I think this sort of bleeds into a conversation of, well, maybe it's not saturated for certain roles in the Salesforce ecosystem. Like we hear a lot of developer versus admin, and I think those are the two easiest roles to sort of define because historically that's what Salesforce professionals have been categorized into. It's like you're either developer or an admin. And anybody who's in the ecosystem knows that's not true. They're analysts, developers, admins, solution architects, technical architects, people who wear multiple hats. They're analysts slash admins. And there are many more niche, specialties, CPQ experts and field service lightning experts. And I don't want it to sound too confusing, but there are a lot of different roles in the Salesforce space with a variety of demand. And I think what we see a lot, once again, just people creating the drama that they want to create or the hype that they want to create. We get this admin versus developer, and there has to be a winner and a loser, and nobody can nobody can be successful with both being successful. And it's kind of interesting because the way I see it, based on experience, literally helping now tens of thousands of individuals start their Salesforce careers through the 5-day challenge, through membership programs, for the career development program and things like that. We've helped a lot of people start their Salesforce careers. And yes, there is extremely high demand for developers. There's also extremely high demand for administrators and analysts and entry-level consultants and even contractors who don't want to work full-time. There is demand for all of that, and it is exceptional demand compared to pretty much any other job on the face of the earth. And that's what sort of blows my mind, is when people say the Salesforce market is saturated. And then I talk to people who are trying to get teaching jobs, and they literally have to wait until someone retires, or they have to move across the state to get a job that's available. That's saturation, okay? Saturation is not, oh man, I had to, put in 6 months of training and understanding before I could get a job. That's not saturation. That's an extremely low barrier of entry. And to further highlight this, we talk about things like Trailhead. And if you don't know what Trailhead is, it's a 100% free training platform provided by Salesforce. Now, why do you think they would provide a 100% free training platform and dump millions, likely tens of millions of dollars into creating this platform? It's because they need people to learn Salesforce, and they have to lower the barrier of entry because not enough people know it, so their customers are not being served. That is a huge indicator that if a company is willing to drop tens of millions of dollars into a free training platform, that's your first indicator that it's probably not a saturated market, and they actually need more and more and more people. Now, your next indicator might be that when you got a Salesforce certification a few years ago, you had to maintain that certification 3 times a year and pay every year to maintain that certification. Well, today, you have to maintain those certifications once per year, and there is no maintenance fee. Why? Because they want lower barriers to entry. They want individuals to get certifications and keep their certifications, and for it not to be a major headache to maintain those certifications, because they have to lower those barriers so that more individuals can be successful in at least getting certifications. So these are all huge indicators that the market is not only not saturated, but it's far from saturated. And if you've heard some of these stories, or you've seen a post, or even if you've had an experience that makes you feel that the market is saturated, I really want you to comment down below. I want you to find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/n/Bradforce, and that is in the description below. Please reach out. I would love to answer your questions. I would love to help you understand the Salesforce ecosystem. Probably there's a blog out there or a video out there that is perfect for whatever your situation was, and it can help you get over that next hurdle. But what I don't want you to do is to watch a video or to read a blog that says admin jobs are out the window, there's nothing there. Analyst jobs are out the window, there's no more jobs available. Salesforce could be crashing. You might want to look at something different because this could be, the end of Salesforce. And it's not that that's necessarily what those individuals are trying to say, but it's the way they're phrasing it, and it's the way they're bringing it up, and it's the title of the video or the title of the blog, and it turns people away. I have personally gotten, not 100, but tens of messages saying, hey, Brad, I gave up on my Salesforce dream because I thought I needed 5 certifications, because I thought that the market was crashing, because I thought the market was saturated, because I don't want to be a developer, but I heard all of the other job functions are diminishing and disappearing. And so they gave up. And that's horrible, that someone gave up on their dream because they heard misleading information that was simply intended to grab attention. And it wasn't meant to be harmful, and it wasn't meant to be incorrect, but it was harmful. And they gave up on a dream for themselves, for their careers, for their families, for their future generations, They threw it all away because, certain blogs or certain videos or, certain platforms just wanted to get a few clicks and a few reads and share a little bit of information with their perspective and get some attention. And I just want to let people out there know there are options. There are people who really know this market really, really well because they're in it every day. And there are people like the individuals like myself at Talent Stacker. We don't have full-time jobs consulting or working a W-2 employer. We work to help people land jobs full-time. That is our career. That is our job. That is exactly what we do day in, day out as our job. So we're not off doing things, trying to keep up with the next project or the next client or the next deliverable. We are always 100% here for the individuals that we serve, and that's the type of people who are watching this video. So please comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what I missed. I'm sure I missed some things. Let me know some counterpoints. Let me know some additional points that might help benefit, my opinions on this. But either way, let me know what you think, and I am happy to comment back. I try to comment back to every single person with a meaningful comment, not just a quick, hey, thanks for watching. And I would love to hear your opinion so that I can better formulate my opinions and make sure that I am continually serving the Salesforce community. Thanks for watching.